It's going to show strike.
The film should show strike. The film should show strike. It was fun.
Coach, this defense really established an identity last year.
Yes, sir.
Have you been able to sustain that throughout the spring?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we got some young pieces on the back end. You know, we are really talented up front. We have a lot of experience up front, and so like the I guess the culmination of the spring ball is trying to develop and grow those young guys on the back end. Our front, I think our front's gonna be pretty good. You know, obviously as the play caller, I'm going to rely on those guys and lean on those guys, and I think they can handle it. And I do think that we've grown. You know, I do feel like and have the mindset that we can be just as good as we were last year.
Do you miss much for not having a spring game, real game format on a Friday or not? Is that a big deal or not?
Nah, not really. I mean, we've had two pretty good scrimmages prior to, that were true games for us, and so there's been a lot of growth in those. We've seen guys constantly get better every single scrimmage, and so I mean the spring game is probably more so for you guys than for us, right? Laughing, but no, it's I mean, obviously you want to get them in the stadium. You would like for fans to be around, so the guys who never experienced that can kind of feel it. But we've had some really, really good competitive scrimmages so far, and so it's been refreshing. But we would have loved to have the spring game. Obviously, they end up moving in, and so that'll mess with some people's schedule. But anytime you can go out there and play and put on a show for your fans, I mean, that's exactly what we want.
Aaron, how competitive is that playing time for the secondary, Ben, and how far have you guys gotten in evaluating what you got there?
Oh, it's very competitive. It's extremely competitive. I mean, I don't want to tell you who I would start going into the day, but I will say this. I'm extremely encouraged by the guys that we brought in. I'm extremely encouraged about the guys that are here from last year. Do I think that we can continue to push those guys? Absolutely. I mean, again, like I'll say this and I'll say it every year, right? Who would have thought that Devin was going to be the player? Who would have thought outside of this building that Devin was going to be the player that he was capable of being until it happened? So we know experience is the best teacher. Right? A lot of these guys don't have a lot of starts under their belt, and so part of it is just going to be trial and error, just in terms of them getting in a game-like setting. Because, some young men, they are really, really good in practice, and they may get under the lights and may not be as good. I mean, we hope so, but the reality of it is sometimes those lights will make a man out of you, man. Like they really will. They kind of change things. Obviously we want guys to how they practice, how they're going to play, but sometimes the lights can be too much for a player. And so just constantly trying to coach them through those moments and those avenues, and hopefully that we can groom the proper talent and groom these young men to have success when they're on the field.
You guys played a lot of man last year. I'm just curious what the balance is with maybe less experienced secondary that's this spring informed you about how much you play man.
No, I think part of the reason why we played man is because, we had the guys. Year one, we probably played a little more zone because we felt like we had the guys to play a little more zone. And so every year it's going to be a tad bit different, right? We've tweaked some things schematically, to kind of help ourselves, but I will tell you, it's going to be a game-by-game thing. I mean, I think the ultimate goal is to keep your opponent from scoring points, however you do that, right? Whether it's, right, a disguised look or whether it's bringing a lot of pressure or whether it's dropping in some capacity, playing a lot of zone. And so the ultimate goal is to keep points off the board. And do I think we have the ability to play man? Absolutely, 100%. But you just never know how a young player who's inexperienced is going to handle that as we kind of progress throughout the season.
I mean, with experience kind of being on a premium with a lot of young guys, the fact that Nicario and Caleb, and they've played elsewhere.
Yes, sir.
They've got it. How much has that been important this year?
Yeah, it's extremely important. It's very important, but they've never played the defense that we've played before, and so like there's an element of experience and then experience within the realm of Big Ten football, and so just constantly putting them in situations. I truly believe our offense has done a stellar job in challenging us, man, and us challenging them. I mean, I am thrilled about what we got going into the season offensively. But it's been some really good matchups, and you can kind of see some guys isolated and see how they're going to respond to certain things. And so just got to keep bringing them along, keep allowing them to get reps. And again, like, I wish I could tell you how the season was going to play out, but it's just a matter of how they're going to handle those situations once they're in them, you know. But so far, I'm very encouraged by our secondary. I'm really excited about the young dudes in our secondary and the capability that they can play with. Obviously, Taz is a dude, right? Taz has all the he has the right mindset. He works hard. He's wired the right way, and you know, prior to him starting last year, you know, he hadn't started many games before that, and so just kind of continue to bring those young guys along, and hopefully we can find ourselves in a really good position at the end of the year.
Coach, you mentioned Devin Witherspoon. I guess you're going to the draft, right?
Absolutely.
Have you ever been there?
I have never been to the draft. That's a great question. I've never been. It's going to be my first time going. I am obviously elated to be going and supporting him and his family, and it's just, I mean, I literally watched that young man go from a boy to a man, you know, and to kind of see like the final product in a sense. Man, I'm elated for him and his family, you know. So I'm really thrilled about flying out there next week.
What are your expectations for him the next level? What do you think he's going to be?
Greatness,
Okay.
greatness, just because that's how, you know, that's how Devin is hardwired. You know, Devin is hardwired to be great. Like, again, you guys didn't have the luxury to be at all our practices, but I know y'all saw him on game day, but our practices were way more competitive just in terms of, like, the scrappiness, you know what I'm saying? Because obviously you can get away with some things in practice, you know, in terms of every now and then a fight will break out, you know, which is, right? When you got competitive dudes going at it, like, that's just the way it is. But, I mean, I expect nothing but greatness from Devin just because I think that's what he expects from himself. You know, I think from the time that young man came in, he's always played with a chip on his shoulder. And I don't care if he's lining up against Devontae Adams or he's lining up against Odell Beckham, right? His mindset is to lock that player up and do what he's supposed to do in order to get his paycheck. You know what I'm saying? So I don't expect nothing else to change from when he leaves here to when he gets to the NFL.
The scheme that you guys play kind of sets up the edge rushers for success. That's the idea anyway. So what have you seen from those guys in the spring? And are they a group that's going to get pressure on the quarterback?
Oh, absolutely. We have to. I think in order for us to have success, we got to get pressure on the quarterback. And Coach Bullen has been doing a phenomenal job with our outside backers. You know, I mean, I'm ecstatic about putting those guys in one-on-one situations to get after the passer a little bit, because I truly believe that they're going to shine in those areas just with their ability. Like, we have some exceptionally athletic talent on the outside that I couldn't be more happy about.
I don't know if we've asked you this, but obviously Ryan works with the safeties and you are too. Is there any, like, similarities there or carryover, like the way your defense is set up, that you guys as coordinators want your hand on that position, or is it just how it worked out?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of the two. You know, I think obviously Walt playing, he was a former quarterback turned safety, and I played a little bit of quarterback in high school, and I was a safety in college. I think I can remember being with Derry Mason at Vanderbilt, and he always made mention to how oftentimes secondary coaches, they just see the game different, man. They just got a different feel for the game, and I think the way the game is transcending, you know, college football or football in general, just being pass happy, we just have a different perspective. Now, that don't make it right or wrong. There's great coordinators that are D linemen. There's great coordinators that are linebacker coaches. You know, this is kind of how the way it worked out a little bit, and I can't tell you how thrilled I am for the opportunity.
With all the accolades up front with Johnny and, of course, Devin on the hit, is Tariq Barnes a guy that gets overlooked a little bit? Is he a potential breakout guy for you?
I mean, I think he get overlooked on the outside for sure, 100%. But in this building, we know that dude is stellar. You know, obviously, right? I think along with a lot of those accolades, that what a lot of people don't get to see is our players, like the Johnny Newtons of the world, or Keith Randolphs of the world, who are getting they are our hardest workers as well. Like, Tariq Barnes is one of our hardest workers as well. And so, does he get overlooked? Absolutely, he gets overlooked. Not in this building, but I'm just talking about in the spectrum of Illinois football and the spectrum of college football. I think overall this team gets overlooked, and that's fine. We'll take that any day of the week. But our goal is to continue to play how we play, and hopefully the way we play, it'll allow people to notice us.